Alright then fellas, so I'm back with a different video. It's not about stocks or credit cards, rather it's something a bit more important than that. It's more like a fundamental step in order to get your finances in check. Basically what I want to talk about is dedicated to all of my students out there. It's about budgeting your finances. I'm talking to students, I'm talking to those who work already. I'm talking to those who already earn money, spend, and have to manage it. But more specifically my students, because I am a student, or I was a student who returned back to community college just to learn, because I like learning. But anyways, on to video. The analogy here I want to share with you guys, it's like, you ever feel like your money disappears? It kind of feels like you're running out of ammo in the middle of a COD Loadout match. Like, you let up for the week, but somehow by Friday you're broke. And today we're going to break down the budgeting basics for students. And don't worry, I'll be using some gaming analogies to make this more fun than your standard finance class, right? So I know my audience, like most of you are gamers like me and are students. I know we play Battlefield, Call of Duty, Minecraft, you name it. But my goal is to overall help you level up, not just in the game, but in real life. Budgeting is your first step towards becoming financially literate and breaking free from living paycheck to paycheck. So let's get started. So why budgeting matters? So college is often the first time you're managing your own money. You got tuition, textbook, rent, food, and on top of that, all the small stuff that sneaks up, like subscriptions, Uber rides, and late night food orders like DoorDash when you're studying, when you're cramming for a midterm. Without a budget, it's like running around in a game with no HUD. You don't know your health, your ammo, your map. You're just ringing and seeing not to get murked or wiped out. Right, so budgeting doesn't mean saying no to fun. It just means how much fun you can afford without screwing yourself over later on down the road. Think of it as a strategy guide. It helps you unlock freedom and stop worrying about running out of cash at the worst freaking times. So budgeting is like getting to your stamina bar. You just sprint everywhere, especially around the start of the game. You have nothing left when it matters the most. So control it, pace it, and you'll go further. So step one is tracking your own incomes and expenses. So it's knowing what comes in and what comes out. You can't build a plan if you don't know what your resources are. So write down everything. Every source of income, whether it be part-time job, allowances, scholarships, or even financial aid refunds, then list your expenses too, right next to it. Rent, food, gas, subscriptions, entertainment, and guess the random Steam sales that we occasionally buy, or the random battle pack, or the battle pass that we can get on Call of Duty, random skins that we normally want to buy on Fortnite or Call of Duty. Doesn't matter, write it down, take it into account. And if you think writing it down sounds pretty lame, then we have apps out there like Mint, everyday budget app, or you can even build something on Google Sheets. The important part, however, is just to be aware of where your money is going and knowing how much of it is coming into you and how much of it is going out. Okay, so here's the kicker. Most students underestimate how much they spend on the small stuff. $6 coffee here and there, $10 fast food there, and suddenly you're like $200 out without even realizing it. So this step is like checking your inventory before a raid. You need to know exactly how many potions, weapons, and coins you got before you go in there blind and pretty much are certain to fail. So the mini summary is that you track your incomes and expenses, because you can't play the money game if you don't know your stats. So step two is creating the budget. So once we know how much is coming in and how much is going out, now is the fun part. Now we create our budget. You need to know your stats, and now it's time to allocate your points. A super easy system is a 50-30 rule. 50% goes to needs: rent, food, bills, transportation. 30 goes to wants: entertainment, eating out, hanging out with homies, playing games with the homies. Or 20% goes to savings, emergency fund, future goals, paying down debt if you have any. So if 20% savings feels impossible, don't stress. Start small, but don't start with zero. Let's start with 5% of your budget. 10% needs to be something going to emergency fund. That's the basics. For students, obviously, the percentages might shift. Your rent may be high or higher, or maybe your parents cover your food. The exact numbers don't necessarily matter as much. Just stick to a plan. So the game analogy of this is like, think of it as assigning skill points in an RPG. If you put everything to attack and nothing to defense, then think of it as attack as your fun spending, and no defense is like having no emergencies. And if you dump everything into defense, then you'll miss out on enjoying the game because you're limited. The right balance makes you unstoppable is what I want to tell you here. So budgeting is like a skill tree. Balance your points between needs, wants, and savings so you don't get wiped out in the later game. Step 3 is to build an emergency fund. Okay, things always go wrong. Your car battery dies, laptop screen cracks, you lose your phone, something happens. You get sick, you can't work for a week. So there goes a check's worth of money that you can't use. So this is why it's important to build an emergency fund. So how much? Anything from 500 to a grand can save you from having to borrow money and swap a credit card that you can't pay off later on. Putting this amount of money into a high yield savings account so it earns a little interest but it stays accessible. Start small. Even $20 a month adds up. Over a year, that's $240, and trust me, that's more than enough to cover a mini crisis. And it's better to have some money set aside so that you can use later, as opposed to having nothing set aside and you get screwed over. So it's like stocking up your health potions. You don't need to use every bottle when you don't have to, but be surprised how much you are going to need it when the superior boss comes out of nowhere, and you'll be glad that you had prepared enough potions to help you throughout the fight. So an emergency fund is like, again, your stash of extra lives. Won't make you stronger, but when a disaster strikes, it'll save your life. So step 4, okay, we already know how much is going in, how much is going out. We know how much of our money is going to be allocated to certain things, and now we know when things go bad, we know how much we have to support ourselves. So the 4th step is to stick it and adjust as we get more data. Budgeting aren't set in stone. Life changes. Maybe you pick up a new job, maybe rent goes up, maybe you start dating and spend more on going out. The key is to check it monthly. If you notice you're always overspending in one category, adjust. Don't beat yourself up, just allocate. Automate savings if possible. Set up an automatic transfer into savings right when you pay your kids. At least that way you don't get to see it, feel it, out of sight, out of mind. And don't forget to reward yourself when you stick it to these plans. Saving money doesn't mean zero fun, but we have to budget to have fun. Budget for a trip, budget for a night out with the homies, budget for certain things that you know it'll improve your fun time in your life. And the best part about it is that you can enjoy it guilt-free. So budgets aren't permanent. Keep tweaking your build keep tweaking your loadout build until it fits your playstyle. Let me say this again. Budgets aren't permanent. Keep tweaking your loadout until it fits your playstyle. So the common student budget mistakes that I've seen is spending too much on food deliveries and eating out, ignoring small leaks like subscriptions that they don't use, think that they'll start saving later instead of saving now, not separating wants from needs. The analogy here, in order to understand and correct these mistakes, this is like wasting gold, skins, and upgrades for your weapon that you never even use while ignoring armor that could save your life. It feels good in the moment, but it weakens your overall game. To be honest, I would say that as long as we have certain money allocated to what is important, like savings, like a savings account, emergency fund, and obviously what you need to spend money on to keep your overhead afloat, then you'll be fine. The mini summary is that just avoid rookie mistakes. Focus on what actually levels up your finances, not just the short-term dopamine. So to wrap this up, I think of it as budgeting isn't about being cheap. It's about being in control of what you should have control over, specifically your finances. Track your money, build a plan, create a smart emergency fund, and adjust as you go. You do that, and you'll be ahead of the 90 students at your age who are barely making enough money, who are in debt, and don't have enough money to even create a budget that works for them. Just know if you have something that works for you, stick to it and adjust as you go. Think of budgeting as the difference between playing casually and actually grinding to become a pro. If you want to level up your stats in real life, then start today. If this helped, hit a like, subscribe, and drop a comment in what telling me what financial topics you want me to cover next. And don't worry, I'll keep the Battlefield and Call of Duty gameplay rolling in the background. Until next time, stay sharp in both games and real life. Later, fellas.
What the hell is your problem?
They never stood a chance. Proceed to extract symptoms.
They never stood a bloody chance.